it one more time. There we go. There we go. It's in red, so I guess we're recording.
It's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar. A big thank you to everyone registering and attending. We know how busy people are, so we're working hard to keep these events interesting and on target. We do encourage questions, so please use the question and chat tools in your webinar console. I always monitor these, so I'll be collecting them for a Q&A session afterwards. One housekeeping item, if you are dialing in on your phone, please mute your microphone on your computer. We've had some background noise issues before, and think this is what may have caused the problem. A little bit about our speaker today. Min Bassiter began developing his insights about creative thinking and problem solving at Procter & Gamble more than 30 years ago. While at P&G, he received 3 U.S. patents and created a corporate-wide internal consulting practice. Following his award-winning doctoral research at the University of Cincinnati, Min became a professor of management in the Michael G. DeGroote School of Business at McMaster University. He continues to teach in the Executive Education Program for Aalto University and teaches a course on innovative and creative problem solving at the Conference Board of Canada's Directors College. Min's first book, The Power of Innovation, became an instant CEO need to read. He founded Bassiter Applied Creativity in 1981 and has since traveled the world applying and teaching Simplexity thinking to many of the world's Fortune 500 companies. Today's webinar is our third webinar in a new series we are calling Advanced Topics, where we show how Simplexity thinking can be applied to different complex strategic problems to get creative and innovative results. Our topic today is focused on silo busting, an age-old problem facing all organizations. Now I'm going to turn it over to Min. He'll share some insights and examples from the field to show you how Simplexity thinking can be applied to building cross-functional engagement and tear down the silos that so often kill innovation. Over to you, Min.
Oh, thanks, Bob, and a welcome to everybody who is tuning in. And as usual, I think there's going to be some people who have seen several of these, and some people may be new. So I'll try to cover both bases, but really glad that you're interested in our work. And so I think the thing that really spurs the issue, you know, if it was 50 years ago, we wouldn't worry too much about silos. We could just be plodding along. But the world is really accelerating in change, and the volatility is everywhere. Things are popping up all over the place. And as a result, it's really forcing a lot of things to be happening faster, and problems are becoming much more complicated. And the game of business and organizational life of all kind has really changed due to this speed and complexity. All over the world, there are problems in performing well. North America, we've been in a restructuring and cutting mode for such a long time here, and competitors producing higher quality, lower cost products overseas. In Eastern Europe, trying to adjust from the old way of thinking to the new market economy kind of thinking, new behaviors, procedures. Japan, once they had a clear blueprint, which was to really make a big impact, which they've done with higher quality, but now seeking where are we going now? How do we redefine ourselves? And they've got new competitors growing, China and Vietnam, people like that. China, Southeast Asia, companies trying to build businesses in parts of that world. South America, who has been a surprise with their success in the 21st century, trying to figure out how do we live up to it. The digital revolution, you can form a company almost anywhere in the world with a new idea. So things are happening very, very fast. And highly complex problems require nowadays collaboration across different disciplines. You can no longer say, gee, this sounds like a finance problem. We'll get Harry, who's the head of the department, to fix it and tell us. Problems are much more complicated, and they need different disciplines to work together and make sure that they're making solutions that are not stepping on top of one another. So in the old days, we were back to single discipline and fairly simple problems that we knew how to do. And now we're into the world of complexity and multiple disciplines. So how in the world do we do this? We didn't learn how to do this in engineering school or business school or high school or anywhere else. Now there's two major ways we can divide problems, among many. One is program problems. These are problems, ways we learn to solve problems back in school, in our work environments. There's a right answer. There's a formula. They're usually analytical. We can figure it out, and the facts are pretty clear. But we have a lot more of these days. Never seen the problem before. There's probably a lot of right answers, a lot of wrong answers. We don't have a formula. They're complex, either have not enough information or way too much information. These are the type of problems we're dealing with more and more. We have both kinds, but these are coming on stronger and stronger. And we need to be able to think our way through these. Now, collaboration, we know, is a main driver of successful innovation. But not many organizations know how to achieve it. 2 heads are better than 1, 6 are better than 2, but how do we collaborate together to make sure we synergize? And we all know that we have a lot of problems with cross-departmental teams not functioning very well. How do we get them to work together to create the real changes we need? Here's 6. A lot of department goals dominate over the organization. Sometimes we put the wrong people on teams. A lot of teams are formed without clear ownership. Often teams are formed and they don't really understand what we're really trying to do. What's our assignment? Sometimes teams are given problems to solve that they don't see as that important or aligned with the company goals. This is a big one. We just don't know how to think together. We don't know how to respect different thinking differences, cognitive differences. Don't have a process, don't have skills. We don't even know it. And often large change projects from the top are tried top down and they don't work. And we just hire people to do things for us. First, domination by individual department goals. Here's an example. Okay, we got a team and it's stuck. And they're a packaging team. And what they're doing, they are trying to figure out how to do something. And that is to look at an idea that the manufacturing people have who've discovered that there's a way of putting these bags into the carton that's different. Now, the way it's being done right now is these bags come off the line and manually people take them, put them straight up and down, 36 to a carton, and pack them off and send them off. This is very expensive and very boring for people. And the manufacturing people have found a way to save $30 million to eliminate this, but the bags would have to be put in flat, not up and down. Well, there's a problem. We can't do that. See, the salespeople say can't do that because it would wreck our objectives. The grocer would have to spend way too long counting the 36 bags before he's willing to pay the money. So we're not going to do that, and the grocer has to be able to count fast. Okay, so if you look at this situation, if the team was able to think well together and not let this dominate, the problem could be stated as, how might we lay the bags flat, yet still let the grocer quickly know how many bags are inside the carton? Now, could a nation who put a man on the moon figure out how to do that? And of course, the answer is yes. But we never get there because people are so tied into their functions, they will not even let the creative problem definition be formed. But this happens all the time. We can't because, and teams go around in circles. Another one is called dump it over the wall. So we have a sequential stream where sales gets the order. They tell R&D, who figure out what the formula ought to be. They dump it over the wall to the people who are supposed to make the formula. And these people don't trust what R&D did, so they duplicate, and then they dump it over the wall, and on and on and on. And by the time we finish it, we've missed the deadline by a large amount, but everybody wants to do just their job. And once they dump it over the wall, their job is done, and they could go home at 5 o'clock, and it's all done. This is a world of optimization. The world still runs this way. People want to meet their departmental goals. I'm going to work for my boss and his boss, so everything is vertical. And customer problems are sub-optimized. We just get what's good for our department, and we don't worry about how it's going to end up when we put it all together, as long as my goals are met. Now, this is called innovate, and this is horizontal. This is me at the left, and my job is to cut through those silos and end up with the customer or the organizational goal at the other end. Now, innovative solutions accelerate the business, and often you get even departmental goals optimized at the same time if you'll just get people working together. But a lot of time is difficult because you keep on bumping into the silos. So a real skill for any leader is how to work through and engage people so they can get to the organizational goal and find ways to get around their own department's problems. Here's an example. This was a great example in the Frito-Lay company. Back in 1984, the Olympics were coming up, and this is, say, 1 year earlier, and there was a worry. The company sells a lot of potato chips and corn chips. There's going to be gridlock. There's going to be thousands and millions of people coagulating in Los Angeles. What are we going to do, and how do we make sure we don't lose a lot of business? They put a team together that had all the right people, the police force. We had neighbors and people from the company and taxi drivers all together, and we began to use the process and began to collaborate on how we might maintain the business, not lose too much, and get through. And the solutions were really great. And what happened was, when they were implemented, the business went up 10%. And more than that, they discovered several new ideas that changed the way they did business for the rest of the year and the rest of their lives. And if that hadn't happened, they would not have done as well as they did in the future, and the innovation would not have been there. Sometimes senior leaders are interested in only their division. We run into this all the time. A lot of times the senior leaders are technical experts, and they love to run their own divisions. They're in the same company, but they've got different divisions with different technologies. Well, they're supposed to run the company, and they almost, they're not that interested. And they find difficulty in setting organizational goals and committing to them, and often interested in only in making my numbers. I'm okay, I made my numbers. So this is a difficult thing, say, for the company president to get them to act as a team. Now, this comes into research. One of the times we did some research, we wanted to find out what the different kinds of results we'd get in different departments in Japanese companies. So we'd ask students over there to ask their parents, when you fill out this form, write in what department are you in? What do you do in your company, say Toyota? And this became difficult because people said, well, I don't work for a department. I work for Toyota, or I work for this company. So they see themselves as working for the company, not a department. And this is something that we don't have enough of in other parts of the world, I think, where people see it that way and would answer that way. Sometimes we put the wrong people on teams. We don't think about it enough. And I remember our equation in innovative results are content, knowledge, people, process skills, tools, and style. It's a combination that many of you have seen before. We need them all. Now, you have to have the right content at the very beginning. Here's a couple of examples where this didn't happen. A few years ago, not too long ago, I was asked to help a company who was trying real hard to innovate and having difficulty. They were making car parts, and they were commodities. And they were making the same kind of car parts as other people. And these were car parts for dashboard kind of things and bumpers and that kind of stuff. And they would go to Ford or GM or Toyota, and they'd be pushed on lower price. They'd say, look, we'll give you the business, but you got to lower your price. So they would work very hard, continuously improving cost, quality, and quantity, but still not able to make much money when they were being pushed so badly. So they wanted to innovate. And they said, well, we do have an innovation team, and they pointed over to it. And there were 11 people on this innovation team, and every one of them was an automotive engineer. They were all engineers. this is not enough of the right content. There were nobody there from sales. There were no users of cars there. There were no makers of cars there. There was nobody from sales or marketing. You didn't have enough knowledge to make this work. Another example was a brand. When I was working at P&G as a young guy helping people solve problems, and a brand called and said, we need some really creative ideas on how to get around legal. And they said, here's what the situation is. We got a lot of things we want to say that are really innovative on television, making claims. The trouble is, every claim we make has got to go through legal, and they're darn tough. So we have to have a session. So we got together and we began to plan, and we started to figure out who would be good people to get on the team. Well, they mentioned Tom and Vicky and George, and I began to realize there was nobody from legal. And I said, but what about legal? Well, they looked at me benevolently, said, look, kid, we don't want them in here. We're trying to get around them. So out of my mouth came, well, who knows more about getting around legal than legal? They're experts at it. Well, we brought them in. We had a one-day session. It was a wonderful session, and we saved so much time of getting around and writing memos and all that kind of stuff. So get the right people in. Don't bring Mary in. She's the head of the union. That's exactly why we want Mary in. She's going to help us. Okay, so these are examples of some mistakes we make. So the right content means knowledge diversity. We need a diverse number of people in there who see the problem from several different ways and have different knowledge that can bear. Another thing, teams are often formed without ownership. The team's formed, but when we talk about why are meetings so darn frustrating so often, there's a lot of reasons, and one of them is there's no accountability. We're put on there and doesn't seem to be anybody's accountable and doesn't seem to own it. And this is a big one. So we've added a new item. We also have to add ownership to this. If you don't have ownership, you might as well not have the team. You certainly don't need the meeting. You've got to have somebody or some people who own it and want to make this process work and get a result. Now, establishing ownership is vital. Now, often I'll have the people draw this at the beginning, a horizontal line, and at one side you write on the left 100% owner. I am 100% the owner, and I need this, and I'm going to do something about it. My neck is on the line. On the other side, 0% are people who say, listen, I'm in here to help you out for a day, but I don't own this, and be good luck, but I'm not going to be doing anything afterwards. I'm going to help. Well, in between, we have people put their X where they find themselves somewhere in between there, so we can get this straight when we start. And of course, we want to make sure we've got ownership and we can go to people, have people who are go-to during the meeting. Well, here's the packaging story. This is another story. I learned a lot at Frito-Lay, wonderful people. We had a packaging team get together, and the idea was that we wanted to make a change to how fast we could put in a new packaging idea and actually get it implemented. It was taking about 36 months for various reasons. So we put a team together to see if we can shorten it. So we had the team together, and I said, okay, before we start, I want to make sure we figure what's going on ownership-wise. So I had people put their X wherever they thought they might be after I explained what I just did. Now, we had a senior person on the team. He was really the team leader through his senior status, and he comes out at 30%. So here is he's a director. He's a top guy, and they see him as 30% owner. Who in the world could own this any more than the director of packaging? So I've got to have a discussion with him afterwards and talk about this, and I have to talk also with him and his boss. We don't have the ownership in that team, and there's nothing going to happen that's going to be any good until this person takes over the leadership. Maybe there's others he can engage. That's great too, but he certainly has to be one of the key leaders in that group, an owner. Often teams are formed fast, and they're assigned, but Sort of. They're given it in broad strokes, and they give them a sort of a big idea, but they're not really sure what it is they're supposed to do. It happens a lot. Well, you get a lot of people who are pretty unhappy. I'm not sure why I'm on the team. And a lot of people figure my real job is back there. They're taking me off my real job and they're sticking me on this team. So I'll put in the time, but I'm not going to do much more. And as soon as the meeting's over, I'm running back to my real job where I get my real rewards and I meet really solid internal objectives, manufacturing, sales, whatever it is. These projects go on and never seem to come to a conclusion. People start saying, I hope I can get transferred off the team. And before they do, hey, we're gonna change it around, and there's another initiative who comes along and get put onto another team. This happens way too much, way too much. And the trick is the pre-consult. And many of you know, when you have a change endeavor, there's 3 phases to it. And any meeting, there's 3 phases to it. Number 1, it's called a pre-consult, where we get together and really define what we're trying to do. And then we decide who will be on the team that's going to do it. And then we do that. That's the second phase. And the third phase is we debrief. How did we do? So we can get better at it. The pre-consult is absolutely critical in any endeavor. Here's my Andy story. I'm asked to sit in. This is back at Procter & Gamble. And a team was having difficulty. They were having difficulty deciding what to do. They were a product development team. And Phil, their leader, asked me to sit in and listen to a meeting to see if I could help out somehow. It's about 3 months after they had been assigned. And they were talking about this and the other thing and sort of saying, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to be doing. And somebody said, I wonder what Andy really wants. Now, who's Andy? Andy is the boss. He's the product development director. I look out the door, and there is Andy way down the hall, door open, writing away. And I'm thinking, why in the world wouldn't somebody just go down and ask Andy, what do you really want? Well, they can't do this, they don't feel, because it's been 3 months since we started. So anyway, what Andy had told them was that they had 2 liquid cleaners, Mr. Clean and Top Job, which were doing well. And his boss, the general manager, had mentioned that maybe they could have a 3rd liquid cleaner to boost sales, maybe. And Andy came back and actually assigned that to the team, and it was a 3rd liquid cleaner. Well, what happened was we started to do a little bit of work together, and we involved Andy, and we had a pre-consult. And you asked, why do we want a 3rd liquid cleaner and all that kind of, what's stopping us? And here's what happened. They worked together and came up with the real objective being very different. How might we find a new way of keeping households clean, which would open up the box to many, many different ways of doing this in a much more exciting problem definition. And so they saved a lot of time, and Andy was very happy that they were willing to come in and say, listen, let's define the problem better, okay? Good organizations keep on asking, are we working on the right things? Are our teams solving the right problems? They continually do that. Rather than working on the solutions, are we working on the right problem definitions? And this brings in good old Albert Einstein, the famous saying, if I had an hour, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem to save the world and only 5 minutes finding the solution. But so many of us are not in that camp. Here are 30,000 people around the world, heavily into implementation and optimization, and we are so quick to do stuff that we don't take the time to really figure out at the beginning, what are we trying to do, especially with teams. And so we try hard to get people to overcome this tendency and to make sure that in addition to that, so the left side, that we can be pretty good on the right-hand side. Now, the steps to a pre-consult are the first 3 steps in our process. First step, we call it fuzzy situation. So somebody's found a nice problem for their team to work on. Let's remember that it's still fuzzy. We're not exactly sure what we're trying to do. We just know what we'd like to do in a kind of a fuzzy way, and open our minds. We go through fact-finding, diverging, converging, what do we know? And then we come up with a really good problem definition. Now, if we get the team involved in that, we've got a really good fix on what we're trying to do, and then we can go to town on it. Here's an example. Juravinci Cancer Center. We want innovation. We've got a radiation therapy process which is taking too long. We'd like some fresh ideas, concrete data, and make our findings transferable to other hospitals who got the same problem. Well, that's okay, but it's relatively wide open. So here's what the pre-consult looked like with the team. Now, the team was from everywhere, from booking clerks all the way to physicians. Started off with number one, how might we obtain high impact fresh ideas into our radiation therapy planning process? Why? Number two, how might we evaluate our best fresh ideas for reducing wait time? And how might we get staff to buy into any proposed changes? What's stopping us? How might we define the best opportunities? How might we get good practical ideas that will remain? Number six, how might we conduct good quality fact-finding around the wait time issue? And how might we involve all of our groups in reducing wait times? Now we're trying to see the bigger picture of what we have to try to do. Now, why? Number eight, we want to implement high-impact fresh ideas into our process. Why? We want to reduce the waiting time at each of the radiation therapy places. And what's stopping us? Number 10, how might we simplify the process chart? The radiation therapy process, how does it look like from start to finish? Well, if we ask why of these, how might we cut down the wait time? That's what we're really trying to do. And what's stopping us is we aren't preparing patients quickly enough for treatment. And 13, how might we reduce the radiation therapy planning process to 2 weeks or less at least 90% of the time? Now we have scoped the project. Here it is, and now the team knows what it's supposed to do and all the pieces that it's supposed to attack. And ultimately, what we're all agree on, how might we improve patient care? Everybody can do that. And we can also meet the Cancer Control Board of Ontario, who's our father in all of this, and help them meet their objectives. In the end, we had 30 people working on every aspect of the process, from booking clerks to physician, and cut down the time by 34%, and did it in very, very good time with everybody pitching in using the process. Now, municipalities. We have the town of Pelham, who is very innovative, and this is what's happening there. Municipalities, towns, and cities were really set up in the old industrial age. Scientific management. Government said, listen, we want people to do their jobs. We want to tell them what to do. And everybody's going to be in a rigid silo, what they're doing. And this is the way we ran factories way back, scientific management. Everybody had to do their job, check your brains at the door, and do your job. Now, today's world, there's many problems that just require a whole lot more than everybody just doing a pre-assigned job. So if we're going to keep our community relevant, what they decided to do was we're going to have interdepartmental teams. Now, this goes against the grain. We were set up a long time ago to keep things separated. Council does this, staff does this, different parts, they do this, and they don't interact. Well, we've got a lot of problems that are important, and we need a bottom-up approach by people who know what they're doing. And we're going to ask them to take the organizational view, what's right for the city, instead of what's right for my department. The problem was that some projects and a lot of projects were falling short, and what they discovered was teams were being put together without a really good, clear understanding of their assignment. And that caused a lot of anguish, and they got together and talked with the team members and worked together, and the solution was this. When we put a team together, trained managers in the creative process are going to have a pre-consult with the team and develop a clearly articulated concept paper, which comes from what? It comes from the pre-consult. And they will act as coaches in team meetings, helping coach the team, not lead it, let the team lead it. In this concept paper, concept document, we have the background, what the challenge is very specifically, what the solution is that we'd like, what's the rationale, how are we going to measure success, and what are the milestones? The team puts that together with a trained manager at the beginning, and they know what they're trying to do. And they are coached through by managers who don't lead, but do coach them through. So there's no question this is important, and this is how we're going to do it. The goal has to be important. You can't delegate the important goals you should be pursuing as a senior leader. Here's another example. This is a situation where we've got a bunch of senior leaders in a profit-making organization. They're making a lot of money because they're selling a lot of stuff because the economy is good, and they're all focusing in. Every senior leader of about 10 is working on making his numbers and getting the profit. The problem is the quality. The senior vice president realizes the quality is not that good. It's probably a little not as good as other competitors, pretty good, and he wants to make sure that long-term it's the quality that counts. Never mind when there's a downturn what the profit is. So we got together and we had a pre-consult with some key members of the team. We started with, how might we help our vice president to get each leader to know that he or she owns the project, not the quality guys? If we don't make quality important, never mind the quality department, we have to make it important ourselves. How might we get the leaders to believe they are responsible for quality? Right now, they don't. They just make the numbers, the profit. Well, that led to how might we get the senior leaders to own a project of achieving best-in-class quality? Wouldn't that be nice? How might we increase the perceived valuing of quality by the leaders? People are going to look at these people and say, these people value quality, so I will too. That led to getting the leaders to create specific plans they will implement in their functions to increase quality. We're getting more concrete now. That led to, we might be able to become best in class in quality in our products. And that led to, how might we equip the leaders with skills to ensure that quality is improved? Which led to, we could become a very effective senior leadership team. And what's stopping us, we need a process orientation into every function for quality improvement. Every function has a process where they could get high quality improvement. And we could teach each function to think of quality improvement as a process. It's not something that comes from the blue, but it's a process. That would help us ensure that what's critically important gets done, which is quality. It would increase our effectiveness of preventing firefighting, which we have to do now all the time because we have to patch up bad quality. And at the very end, what's stopping us, how might we get the senior leaders fully involved in defining and solving the quality challenges facing the business? So the idea was, let's get them into the room, all 10 of them, leave quality control people out of here, and have them define the quality challenges and solve them themselves. And that way we would build ownership. And that was a very, very good exercise that we did. We had the session, and this is the way the invitation was sent out to the leadership team. Thanks for coming. By the way, the main objective is for you to define the key quality challenges, create solutions, and make plans to implement the solutions in our functions to become best in class in quality. And we'll have this facilitation done by Ambassador. Okay, so by bringing them in, they did handle that 2 days. They defined the key quality challenges and were implementing the solutions in their functions. Frito-Lay, the old story, how do we make cost improvement important to everybody? And what was happening was they were doing price in advance of inflation. As costs went up, revenues went up. Why? Higher prices. Somebody said, listen, if that keeps on going, people are going to stop buying our product. We're going to have a shortfall. We can't have that. How might we learn to flatten costs in 5 years? How might we engage all of our people to flatten those costs? And we came up with this strategy where we set out a goal, 500 million in 5 years. Let's start with the vice presidents and an interdepartmental team. For a company that's highly functionalized, let's get them working together and show everybody how to do this, and we'll use the Simplexity thinking process. Now, it worked, but a key thing was, how do we get people involved? What's in it for everyone at Frito-Lay to do this? Well, what we did was every important group that got together, this was done at the beginning by a senior manager, said, listen, profit equals revenue minus cost. We can all agree on that, but could we all agree that why profit is valuable to everybody? And it was pretty obvious. Everybody had profit-sharing pension plans, new products, more jobs, more wages, and then it became simple. How might we use our creativity to increase revenue and decrease costs? Everybody was able to buy into this, why it was important for us, not just senior management, saved $500 million in 4 years. In Nippon Denso in Japan, they have natural work teams finding and solving and implementing changes, but they are tightly connected to the top. They get together frequently about what's important these days, what kind of problems should we be solving on, and there's very heavy strategic alignment. It's not just left down there on little piddly problems, but they know when they're working on small problems, senior management, why we're doing it, what's important this year. The cafeteria story. Again, I'm in Japan, and they said I was doing some work with them. 3 o'clock today, we stop production, we go to the cafeteria. Why? There are 3 project teams who are going to present. We stop all production, we go there, and each project team goes up and explains what they're doing these days. The plant manager introduces each one, a big round of applause when they're finished, one after another after another. This is important, what these teams are doing, and they're the most important things we're doing right now to effect good change. But no question in everybody's mind, this team is working on something important. Finally, a lot of teams don't know how to collaborate. They don't have a process. They weren't taught how to collaborate. Now, a senior leader of a major bank that we're working with right now, who are trying hard to increase his presence on the world market and doing a great job, said this: listen, there's a lot of challenges we've got. 2 important ones are people don't communicate well, either because they don't really understand their role, and often they're overlapping and doing other people's work, duplication of effort, or they're so entrenched into their own work, they don't talk to others enough. Finally, we've got to learn to do our work more in parallel and less sequentially. And we've been up here before. The thing is we're lacking is a proven methodology of how do we engage people in working and thinking efficiently to concretely define and solve complex problems. That's the way the issue's been seen. And that's one thing we've been trying to help them with. The point is we need a process to collaborate. It's just not willy-nilly, and everybody has a different process for solving problems in their brain, but is not aware of it. Remember the innovative results equation? We need a process for working together. And what happens is out of 10 different people, one person thinks, I could fix this, let me out of here. I can do it right now. 2 people want to get the facts if it kills us. 2 people want to define the problem if it takes 6 months. 2 people want to jump into solutions right away. 2 people want to evaluate every solution they hear, and 1 guy wants to be devil's advocate. Would you ever build a car without an assembly line? No. Dump the parts on the floor? No. But we do it in meetings. We just go willy-nilly without a process for synchronization. Now, here's the fundamental concept. We need knowledge. We need imagination, evaluation, and action, but we have different styles of using this combination. 4 basic mental operations. 2 different ways of gaining knowledge. Some people gain it by direct experience. Some people learn the opposite way by not getting involved and detachedly thinking what the situation is in their own mind. Other people are different in how they use knowledge. Some for ideation, some for evaluation. These are polar opposites, but strengthening these opposites and using them together helps us be creative. The process got 4 stages. Generating, getting things started. Conceptualizing, defining concretely what we're trying to do. Optimizing, getting really practical solutions and implementing those solutions and going around and around again. This is what we want teams to do, to be in this stage of the game and working together to make change continuously. Now, all of us have styles, and some of us prefer one over the other or a mix. Generators get things started. Conceptualizers define the problem. Optimizers, practical solutions. Implementers, get it done. And we have styles in this, but here's the key. We all like different parts of the innovation process. Generating, find problems and fact find. Conceptualize, define. Optimize, evaluate, select, plan. Implementing, gain acceptance, and take action. So all of these things are key. Now, here's a very important thing. We're blends. Everybody is a blend, and we have mixtures that are different from each other, but they're blends. They're states, not traits. These are things that we can change. They're not traits where we're fixed with them personality-wise. The ability to shift is key, and we shift together as we go around the wheel in a project. We know by research that mixed teams are more innovative but don't have as much fun. These are not skills, they're preferences. You can do all four. We do know that generators are in shorter supply in companies for whatever sets of reasons, and we have different functions in jobs. So this is a system, and we have to synchronize our different blends of preferences to make this work. Here are the different kinds of jobs, and all these jobs have different styles, and when you put a team together, they have to work together. An interdepartmental team have to work together to get their styles straight to synchronize. Now, if teams don't have these diversity, they might have trouble. Here's an old-fashioned company. They need a breakthrough idea, and they think they're doing great momentarily. Trevor is the guy on the left lower. He's the guy who put the team together, and yeah, we got a great idea, but there's no action. Here's a manufacturing plant. They're really profitable, but they got a lot of problems. They're quality problems, rework problems, optimization problems, but they're still making money because they're so good at implementing Band-Aid solutions. But if they don't optimize, they're going to kind of lose in the long run and not have as good profit as they could be. But right now, they've got to give more attention to optimization. This is a strategy development team, large insurance company, health. They are having a great difficulty in coming up with a final strategy because things keep changing on them. Here's the team. The implementer is the administrative assistant to the group who brought them together. They're never going to get finished because they don't have enough of the other people. Market research looks like this. They've got 57 pages of great new data ready to give to sales, who looks like this. They're in for a big surprise. This is not going to go anywhere because the salespeople are going to fall asleep after about 2 pages. Now, in North Bay Regional Health Center, they've got a marvelous approach trying to balance incremental approaches to change with big changes, and they've developed innovation leaders who are on the right-hand side to balance their lean leaders who are on the left-hand side, trying to get both sides, small increments and big changes. If you have too many implementers and optimizers, you're going to have a short-term focus if you're not careful. If you've got too many generators and conceptualizers, you're going to take a lot of fun, long-term focus, not getting much done, but pretty happy. Now, skills. Remember this? This is a skill that wrecks the process, where we mix divergent. How many times have we heard this? We all know them in every language. It's a good idea, but somebody's trying to diverge, somebody cuts in right on top of them. And this is the fundamental skill, the ability to defer judgment. Divergence is good and convergence is good. We don't mix them together. We would never, ever drive a car with our brakes on. So they're important skills. Converging together, a lot of new ideas come up when teams don't judge, don't vote, but they clarify, discuss to understand, and choose together. And new things come up because they clarified what they were talking about. Separating process from content in every team. The leader is a facilitator. He leads the process. Everybody else is focusing on the content, and we don't mix the two together. This is another major thing that people have to learn. Focus on the process, how, and don't mix it with the what. Let everybody do the what, who is a content person, the owner, the helper. Many different skills, too numerous to mention today. Building, let me tell you what I'm thinking. Ways to communicate, share half a thought. Ask a fact-finding question every time. Teams need to learn how to communicate with each other, and there's many, many skills that they must learn to be good. And teamwork is often dysfunctional because you have people mixing diverge, converge. They're all different steps of the process, and they don't know it, and they get very unhappy. Large change projects are hard because what happens is there's people at high levels in a company are willing to spend money to bring in real experts at the highest level, and nothing happens because the change has to come from within, down below where the experts are. So you can do that. You can go and spend money, but if you can work hard getting your people down below to handle it, that's a lot better. And but to be a real leader, you can't just hire McKinsey to come in and tell you what to do. It doesn't work because people will resist it. But if you really want to be a leader, develop your people down below in making change and your teams knowing how to make change. So how do you drive change with teams? Get really important problems that are really important to the company, the organization. Get your best people on it. Then engage the teams at the beginning in a pre-consult. What are we really trying to do? How is it aligned with organizational goals? Make sure we know who the owners are and they're accountable. Equip the team with a collaborative process for solving complex problems and the skills. Do the training that's needed. Make sure that the super owners are there and they're responsible for the outcome. You can't delegate important stuff. You can let the team get going, but you really are the super owner and they got to report to you, how we doing? And finally, you can't purchase innovative collaboration at the top. It has to come from down below. And a good leader is going to figure out how that's done and get those teams working and aligned with the top, not hoping magic will happen by some formula. And Bob, I think we might have hit the time limit here, and I'm going to turn it over to you to maybe look at next steps and any questions we can answer.
Thanks, Ben. That was really great. You hit it right on time target, and I'm going to go over a few next steps. And firstly, as always, we encourage people to give us a call or email us. Our email addresses are at the bottom. Want to let people know ahead of time, our next webinar, if you want to, it's a different style. We're going to officially launch Simplexity University. So we're running a webinar on February 23rd, same time, noon, where Min and I are going to take you on a guided tour of Simplexity. We're going to show you what behind the scenes, how it works, what kind of content's there. It's basically a huge body of knowledge that we put in one place. So we're excited about that. So mark your calendars down for February 23rd. Our next workshop, Level 1 and 2 certification workshop, is scheduled right now to run March 21st to 23rd in Burlington. I've provided a link. And our next webinar, like this in our webinar series, is going to be on April 12th, noon again. And this one's focused on entrepreneurship. We're calling it Design-Centered Entrepreneurship, 8 Steps to Building a Winner. So really hope that you tune in. There'll be a lot more information. You're going to get invitations from me as per usual. So mark your calendar for April 12th, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, from a startup level right into the inside a corporation. So if you could just turn the next slide, I'm going to leave it at that, and we're going to go to some questions. Can you flip the next slide there, Min?
Okay.
There we go. There's our official launch webinar. We've just added a banner to our website with a link to Simplexity U. We haven't really done anything official yet. We have sent it out to a number of people out there to get to get some feedback. We're going to be constantly adding new courses. In fact, all our webinars are ultimately going to be housed inside Simplexity U. We will leave them up on our site for about a month after we run them, but then eventually everything we're going to put is going to go into Simplexity U. So I'm going to move into some questions. I've got a couple questions here, and here's one right here. What is the key to convincing a problem owner to go through the Simplexity process to solve their problem?
Oh boy, that's a good question. And if you're a person who sees the need and you would like him to participate, what we do, it's the power of the pre-consult. Again, if you've got someone and you want them to take on this kind of a thing because you believe in it, the key is to ask the owner to just sit down with you for an hour or two to do a pre-consult. You may not call it that, but it's the idea of just experiencing the process and helping the owner figure out, get a better definition of what he's really trying to do. So you're just trying to help the owner get a better you're not going to solve anything, but just get a better fix on what the problem is. So it's a service to him to really define the problem well. And at the same time, he's going to experience in the pre-consult the methodology you're going to use. And you have a high hope and a high track record that once he experiences it, he'll relax with it and like it. And another thing we do a lot is to ask the owner to go online and do the profile to just get a little feeling for how this process works, just a little bit of a thin edge of the wedge. And so if he's willing to spend a little time with you to help him define his problem and at the same time experience the process, that's a great way to get him to give it a try. One of our mantras is that if you can get a pre-consult with a person, 9 times out of 10 he's going to be willing to go through the process with a team. I hope that helps.
Great. Another question: why wouldn't you defer judgment during divergence instead of in between divergence and convergence?
Oh, the deferral of judgment is all of that. Deferral of judgment splits divergence from convergence, ensures that divergence happens or the deferral of judgment happens in divergence. We're just trying to get across in a way that's easy for people to say, look, convergence is important, divergence is important, but you have to have deferral of judgment to split them. Don't do them at the same time. Don't ever put your foot on the brake at the same time as you put it on the motivation. And by the way, we like deferral of judgment. It's strange to say, keep an open mind when you're doing convergence. When I showed you that telescoping slide, a lot of new ideas happen when people are listening well to each other doing convergence. You don't vote all of a sudden and you don't debate. You put your dots up, and then the ones that were chosen as primary likelihood solutions, you talk about each one of them. Why did you pick it? Explain it, clarify it. A lot of people have different reasons for having picked the very same one. Out of that sometimes pops, I got another idea. And by the time you finish, you're picking really well worked out problems or solutions that you choose as your final vote. But deferral of judgment is the trigger to divergence. We published a paper in 1984, Carl Finkbeiner now, which explained that. Deferral of judgment is the trigger to divergence. And now we believe further that it's also a great part of convergence, which we call telescoping. Hope that helps.
That's great. I've got one other question here, and I can kind of help answer. And back to your last answer, one of the things that I have experienced outside of our process with other facilitators is some people call it dotmocracy, which is whatever gets the most dots is the one we go with. And I think it's really important that people realize that in telescoping, how important it is to sit back and listen to somebody. Just because something got 1 dot doesn't mean that it's the most important or something that people really understand or don't understand. So, I see it out there being used. People just count the dots, and I just want to warn people that's probably not the best way to come to the best solution. So, here's a question, and I can help answer part of it. How can I identify the profile of each of my staff to ensure I have a well-rounded team addressing the issue? And obviously one of the key ways now is using the Ambassador profile. If they haven't, get everybody to fill out the Ambassador profile at www.ambassadorprofile.com, set up a team. One of the things we have added this year is each team member on a scatter diagram is identified. You can set it up whether they show the names or not to show the names. But right now, if you want to show the names, you can see exactly who they are. And just because you may not have people in every quadrant, that's not going to, totally negate things. You just have to remember that if you don't have any generators, that you have to be in, generator territory. You have to, do some things that will encourage generation or problem finding and that kind of stuff activity. Obviously, if you can have people in all 4 quadrants, that's a good thing, but that's not always the case. I don't know if you want to build on that.
No, that's very good, Bob. Yeah, it's a very simple thing to get get it filled out and find out, and then talk with the team. Once you've got this, you get a scatter diagram, the team's together, and a lot of things can happen when you share that with the team and talk about it. And somebody might say, well, if we're short an optimizer, maybe we should all pitch in and do something about it. It's a great way to get people thinking about being a team without slapping each other back and doing a kumbaya. It's ways that we can work together. It's kind of nice, and we can respect each other. Bob, so I like your explanation best.
Do you ever find people are hesitant to share their ideas for fear of losing creative authorship, or don't want to collaborate because they want their idea to be recognized as their
Yeah,
own?
well, it's yeah,
How do you overcome this?
yeah. Is that? Oh, that's a great question. What happens with this process is that by the time you finish, nobody knows whose idea it was. There is so much work on building, build, build, build. So during divergence, the key statement is I'd like to build on that idea. I'd like to build on that idea. And we don't have like several people throwing up ideas willy-nilly all over. They're done one at a time. We listen to each other. We build. And so you build on this, you build on that. A new idea pops out. By the time you've built and built, you've got such different ideas and such better ideas. We have research that shows that it's always good to extend effort. It's better to spend 20 minutes than 10. It's better to spend 40 because very often the best ideas turn up at the end of the session. Why? Because you're building on early ideas and building and building. So there's an excitement that starts coming up as you hear a good idea and you build on it, make it better, and then you twist and turn it. The other way it happens is during the convergence, during the telescoping. You pick what you think some of the best ideas are, but you realize we don't really know all about them. You start the second stage, which is clarification, understanding. 5 different people picked this idea. Why did you pick it? Why did you? You hear different reasons why people picked it and different interpretations of the idea. And now you start building some more and you say, that gives me another idea. Out pops another idea. And by the time you finish and pick, nobody really is sure whose idea it was. We all had a hand in building it. So it's a tremendous team builder in the right sense. We don't just slap each other on the back. We work together. And we're so proud of the fact that we came up with really great ideas, and we give. The other idea was crediting. That was the second one. That's a second one. Not only do I like to build on that idea, I want to build on George's idea. So I'm giving credit to George, whose idea I'm building on. Those two are really key factors. So there's a lot of skill that can be learned and can be used by team members who can work and love to solve problems because they're helping each other. It works.
I got one last one. I'm good. Thanks, man. I got one last one, and I just wanted to. Somebody's asked about a little bit inside Simplexity U, and what we've set the site up. We've kind of set the site up in 4 sections to give people a little heads up ahead of time. This is the last question that we're going to take as we're running out of time. We do have essentially 3. Well, we have 3 or 4 workshops in there, but this workshop is kind of an overview of Simplexity thinking. So we have one section that's basically the basics of Simplexity thinking, which will be a couple of courses. One course is an overview. One, we take you through each of the steps of Simplexity thinking. All the webinars, especially at the beginning, we did around the profile, an overview of the 8 steps. Each step in more detail, fact-finding, problem-finding, all that kind of is inside one section of Simplexity U. Another section where this webinar fits another are advanced topics. One workshop we have, e-workshop, is on strategic planning. So that will be in there as well. So we're going to have a whole section related or dedicated to advanced topics, which is much more around applying Simplexity thinking to various business problems. The third section is all our research papers. Everything we've done in research are all available inside Simplexity U. So all the articles, the journal articles are all there. And if you have a gold membership, which is the highest level membership, you're going to be able to download files, so the files are going to be available. The last section is we have a number of people, a small number of people, who've actually gone through Simplexity training and are now what we call professional innovation advisors. So we're going to have special files dedicated to them. They have access to everything in the site because in our view, they are essentially extended associates and have sort of achieved that sort of highest level of training. So that's what's inside there. We're going to take you through it on February 23rd. And again, please email me directly, bob@bassler.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And even for some of you, if you want to set up a quick free preview, I can do that. But you'll be getting more and more information as time goes on. So I'm going to end it at this point. Again, I want to thank Min, as per usual. Great job. We finished on time, had some great questions, and look forward to everybody tuning in on April the 12th and February 23rd. So have a great day, and thank you again.
Thanks to everybody. You want to make sure I don't